So, what made you want to study for a PhD?
Basically I'm an artist and I was more concerned about producing. But I realized that it's important that even as a creative person or an artist, you pursue research, especially from where I am. It's more, I'd say, understudied than as compared to in the UK.
I have wanted to study for a PhD since I first went to uni. I think it's partly because of a general love of the subject. I've always known that I wanted to do biology. When I did my undergrad degree, I did biology with German, and then I specialised further when I did my master's, which was in conservation biology. And it just seemed like the next logical step for a career in research, which is what I've always seen myself doing.
I wanted to study a PhD because I wanted to get into a career teaching in higher education or being an academic. I had a brilliant time on my master's in visual culture, and I wanted to build on the research I'd started then. And I also wanted to be able to contribute to my sector of art by carrying out research into the arts and science. What made you want to study your PhD?
I'd never thought about doing a PhD before. In fact, I thought I wasn't clever enough, or certainly wasn't academic enough. But when I did my MA, I loved it so much, and what I particularly loved about it was the research. And I realised that I've always loved research, and also that it suddenly became sort of accessible in a way that I'd never sort of considered it before.
Well, I accidentally fell into education. So when I was working as a Macmillan nurse, I decided to do a master's because I really wanted to learn some sort of in-depth specialist knowledge around end-of-life care. So this report came out and it said something, it was just this tiny phrase, which was that there's a compassion deficit in the NHS. Anyway, and this phrase just, it was the fire really, because I just thought, that's not true. Compassion isn't something that you can just, it says there's a compassion deficit in the NHS. You have to teach your students about compassion. So, I just thought that's not true. You can't just put up a load of PowerPoint slides telling students what compassion is and then suddenly expect that older people's care will be better. And so I started to read around it. What is compassion? What is suffering? What is it that makes people behave in the kinds of ways that they behaved in that report? And I just thought, well, there's something about culture. There's something about expectations. Anyway, and so questions begot questions, and the questions got longer and longer and longer. And I was just kind of writing blogs about it and talking to my students about it. And then I just thought, oh, maybe this is a PhD.
So I was working in the NHS. I was working in acute psychiatric inpatient services. So I was on a acute admissions ward as a healthcare assistant. And so then I became interested in looking at communication more broadly in mental health. And I was particularly interested in how staff had trouble understanding the language and communication behaviour of people who were showing signs of formal thought disorder. But when people who were showing signs of formal thought disorder went out to the garden and sat on the bench next to each other, they seemed to understand each other perfectly well. And I found that fascinating.
I did a dissertation as an undergraduate student, and it was around that time that my dissertation supervisor in sociology, he asked me what I was planning to do when I finished my undergraduate degree, and he said that he felt like I should consider doing a PhD because he said that the ideas I had from a dissertation, there was scope to take those further, and he felt like I was clearly interested and committed enough to take on a PhD, and so that's when I first started considering it. I'd never really heard of a PhD. I didn't know what a PhD was up until like the third year of my undergraduate degree when I started looking into it. And the more I looked into it, the more I found that would be something I was going to be interested in. And I also felt like I'd be suited to it because I was very driven as an undergraduate student, and I was very passionate about the things that I was thinking of researching. Doing a PhD felt like not only a challenge that I'd enjoy, but something that would suit me as a person as well.
Way before, I never imagined I could be an academic. I was more concerned about producing than actually going through research, but you pursue research because it advances the field. And it's where I also thought about pursuing higher education and pursuing my PhD.